Have you heard of the Tom John? Well, I hadn't, and was quite intrigued with this popular mode of transport during British rule. There were quite a few British who travelled on this comfy chair, perched atop two poles and sometimes with a makeshift top for a shade. And speaking of modes of transport, on our show today is a 15-year-old inventor who has invented a tuk-tuk to run on solar power for persons with disabilities. And all this while studying. I'm Savithri Rodrigo and welcome to our weekly Kaleidoscope with Savithri Rodrigo. More feel-good stories coming up on Kaleidoscope today, expanding our apparel footprint in Africa. An adrenaline junkie who cheated death with a life-saving device. An artist who goes Bohemian. Snapshots of the week that was and a balancing act. This is our Kaleidoscope snapshot, a quick look at the week that was. In the first half of 2021, Sri Lanka's trade deficit widened by over $1 billion to $4.3 billion year on year. In the first quarter of 2021, Sri Lanka's top 8 conglomerates amassed a total of 364 billion rupees in revenue and 30 billion rupees in pre-tax profits, with Expo Lanka topping the list. Sri Lanka is to receive a $308 million term facility from the state-run China Development Bank. A new frog-legged beetle fossil has been named Pulchritido Attenborough, or Attenborough's beauty, in honor of Sir David Attenborough. Climate activist Greta Thunberg is on the cover of Vogue Scandinavia's maiden issue, spotlighting the role of fast fashion. A restaurant in Manhattan is serving the world's most expensive French fries, sprinkled with edible gold and seasoned with truffle salt and truffle oil. It's served on a crystal plate and costs $200. At that price, I think I'll stick with my regular French fries. We'll be back with a young inventor from Clinoci and Hela Clothing's expansion story. Next on Kaleidoscope News Capsule. This is Kaleidoscope's News Capsule. Welcome back. One of the fastest growing apparel manufacturers in Africa, Hela Clothing, which is headquartered in Sri Lanka, plans on a 4 billion rupee IPO to fund its growth. A leading fashion retailer to both the US and Europe, Hela has been a first mover into Africa and, seeing the increasing change in geopolitics due to the pandemic, reconfigured its expansion plans. Here's Group Chief Financial Officer of Hela Clothing, Moise Remanji.
We are already the largest intimates exporter out of both Kenya and Ethiopia. We represent 20% of the total apparel exports out of both these two markets. And just very recently, we entered into the bra space as well as a joint venture with an already established bra manufacturer, an Indonesian-based company called Sumberi. We've also got into a joint venture in the safeguard space, which is basically the medical apparel and personal protective equipment, which is a collaboration with the Aga Khan Foundation. And as you all know, Aga Khan has its own network of hospitals as well as medical universities, which provides a natural demand pipeline into the safeguard venture that we have got into. So how does this all loop back into Sri Lanka? Given that customers are already seeking sourcing destination to Africa, Hela is able to retain existing customers and also attract new customers under the Hela umbrella, which ultimately yields economic benefits into Sri Lanka itself.
And here's news of our markets this week. Backed by good corporate earnings, this week the All Share Price Index was up by 2.9%, with the average daily turnover being at 3.58 billion rupees. Oil prices fell for a record 6th day in the longest losing streak since February 2020. WTI oil is currently at $63.42 per barrel. Gold prices continue to remain lackluster, trading around $1,786 per ounce. Studying during COVID can be stressful. But then, this 15-year-old from Klinochi has a stress reliever, building stuff using scrap metal. During lockdown, Sundaralingam Piranavan worked for 8 months building a solar-powered tuk-tuk using metal scraps. Sundaralingam was also featured on the BBC for this. And the best part of this story, he built the tuk-tuk for the use of persons with disabilities.
Hi, I'm Sundaralingam Pranavan from Klinochi. I'm studying grade 10 in Klinochi Central College. This is my solar power 3-wheeler which is made for disabled people. This auto has been sponsored by American people. Then my grandfather helped to do this. This is not my new invention. I did more. Before that I made a electric bike. Then I made a solar bike. Then I made a 3-wheeler. That is not full support I did not give. So I did this one for disabled people. It is giving 100% result for me. Thank you.
And on that note of a young person doing great things, here's how Srilanka Life empowers young people to achieve their dreams through the Pranama Scholarship Program. Srilanka Life felicitated 162 students with scholarships worth 12 million rupees and special awards at the 20th annual presentation, which was held virtually this year. Watch the balance. Here's how a still life photographer photographed the Burberry Generation series using ice, goblets, milk, plates, and of course, the Burberry Olympia bag. Coming up is Srilanka Life. Let's talk with Shavini Fernando, who shares her story of life and death. We'll be back.
Making all your new goals in life a reality is why our strength is your strength. With 12 billion rupees worth of customer benefits in 2020 and a life insurance fund worth over 100 billion rupees, our strength is your strength. You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
For those living with pulmonary hypertension, life can be scary. This is where the heart stops as a result of a sudden drop in oxygen levels. The deprivation of oxygen to the brain is deadly, as you can imagine. Shavini Fernando was diagnosed with severe pulmonary hypertension as a result of her having Eisenmenger syndrome. This necessitated self-CPR to revive her heart. After going through several near-death experiences, Shavini, who is a video game, VR, and web designer and developer, used her skills to invent OxyWear, a wearable ear device that monitors blood oxygen and warns when levels drop. Currently at Stanford, Shavini's invention got worldwide attention, putting her on BBC, the Washington Business Journal, CD Technical Leader of the Year, and among the 49 most influential individuals in code, data, and design in the DMV region. I caught up with Shavini, who is currently in Washington, D.C., to find out more about how OxyWear came about. Welcome, Shavini, and good to have you on Kaleidoscope Srilanka Life. Let's talk. Now, you suffer from pulmonary hypertension due to Eisenmenger syndrome. How debilitating is it for someone wanting to lead life normally the way we know it?
Yeah. So pulmonary hypertension is when your pressure inside the heart and the lungs are higher than 20. So the normal pressure inside the heart and the lungs is just 1/5 of your normal pressure that you check with the cuffs at the doctor. That's how it is. But for people with pulmonary hypertension, you have hypertension if your pressure is above that number, above 20. On the flat floor, we are fine. Just as we start climbing uphill or steps, or if we had to carry anything, whichever that needs more cardiovascular performance, then we don't get enough oxygenated blood. So because the heart can't pump enough, so we get really tired and our oxygen numbers drop really low.
You said you were an athlete. So how did you manage to do your sports despite your disease?
So because I didn't know I had this, right? It was hole in the heart from small days and no one diagnosed it. So I had breathing issues, but I was diagnosed as asthma. So all they did was just change my inhaler.
When you did find out, did that change your mentality in any way?
It was pretty much like, more than the disease, it was all the decisions that was given by the doctors, which for me more like they were challenging me. When I run, I'm fine, but once I stop only I start feeling it. So I just quickly put the oxygen, crank it up, then I'm fine. But still I do like rock climbing. I go with my friend to the climbing gym. So even though I can't do the stuff that I did before, I found new things that I can do that doesn't, because I'm a very much of an adrenaline junkie. So for me, it's not easy to stay without doing stuff.
So you made Oxywear technically for yourself. How did it subsequently reach out to the people?
So in school, this happened. I got a cardiac arrest and my heart stopped. So I had to hit my chest on my own and start my heart on my own and revive myself, because everyone else other than me was panicked. And I was like, just let me do what I'm doing and get my heart to start again. And all they could do was just call 911. But after all this happened, my doctors at Johns Hopkins were like, oh, you should not live alone. You need to move back to your sisters. I was with about 25 people. If they were panicked, they weren't able to help me. I was the only one who was able to do something at least. And then it was the same thing, because I felt like I had to prove him that I can live alone. So I said, it's a fire alarm situation. Let's make something. And then he laughed at me and said, okay, let's see what you can do. I said, yeah, we can do it, monitor oxygen. You know, it's like fire alarm, you detect the smoke, run the alarm. So it started as a joke, because I just wanted my doctor to allow me to stay alone. So I went back to school and started this. That's how it all started.
Now that you've seen the need for tools like Oxywear, are you looking at any other inventions? Is there anything more in the pipeline?
Yeah, something I told was these oxygen concentrators are really heavy. We need to figure out a way we can reduce the battery size of this oxygen concentrator so that it can become lighter for people. Because the concentrate is light, the battery is about 10 pounds. And for someone who has a cardiovascular disease, having to walk around with 10 pounds is not easy. Then also in the same device, we can add more other functions that can help other diseases, because we were reached out by epilepsy and then syndrome community, like multiple other chronic disease organizations, how they can use the same readings that we get for oxygen, but use it for like seizure detection.
So Shavini took a fire alarm situation and customized a tool that would help her manage her oxygen levels. Then she gave it to the world and saw how life-saving it can be for others. That was young Sri Lankan inventor Shavini Fernando, the inventor of Oxywear, on Selling Your Life. Let's talk. What you see here is a rather grainy version of a tram that plied Colombo Fort way back in the 1900s. Bousted brothers introduced tram cars to the city, replacing carts and rickshaws. Daily wages for tram drivers was a princely ₹1.20. Art is a journey of discovery, and so it was when I took a peek at Nihal Senaratne's newest collection at the Colombo Art Gallery at Gandhara Street. Titled Bohemian Atelier, Nihal's paintings blend Bohemian and a tad of gypsy, which are expressive and speak of freedom of the spirit of mind and body. It's not a style often seen in Sri Lanka, but it is one that is exotic, distinct and a tad eccentric in style. And as the artist says, it stems from my imagination and delusions. Enjoy. We want you to like us. Just press that like sign on YouTube. Also, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to Kaleidoscope with Savithri Rodrigo on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Time to lock yourself indoors if you possibly can. Don't take a chance with this deadly virus. We'll be back next week. Here's our Kaleidoscope takeaway dedicated to our two young inventors featured today. Invention is the natural outcome of creative thinking.